IVM.
Hi, everybody. On behalf of the team at IVM Podcast, I have a request for you. We'd really appreciate it if you could go to ivmpodcast.com/survey and fill out our survey over there. It's going to take a few minutes to do, but it gives us some really interesting information that we can take to advertisers and brands about who's listening to the network. If you're comfortable giving us your email address, while you're filling out the survey, we'll enter you into a random drawing where we'll be sending out a bunch of IVM swag to some of our listeners. Last year, we sent out coffee mugs, and this year we're hoping to send out much cooler stuff. That's ivmpodcast.com/survey. We really appreciate your help.
Hello one, hello all. Welcome to the Diary of the Traveling Professor. And I'm Siddharth Deshmukh, your friendly neighborhood traveling professor himself. And on this Tuesday, this diary entry of mine has been inspired by Ujjwal Pahwa, if I've got your name right. Thank you so much for raising a question on my earlier podcast, which was around meme marketing. And what Ujjwal said was that, essentially a lot of people end up liking, what we need not do really well on the internet. Wait, let me say it right. What Ujjwal said was that everyone's focused on becoming big on the internet, but they're ending up doing the exact wrong things, which is pushing, Selu stuff down everybody's throats and then expecting to become big. What do people do wrong? Can we talk about that a little? Well, here we go, Ujjwal, and thank you for, such an interesting question. What I've realized is that if I look at the successes on the internet, all the internet-based brands that have become really, really big, okay? And then obviously you have to look at all the social media giants, like Instagram and Facebook and the rest of it. Then you have to look at tech companies like Google and, the search engine and the rest of it. And then you have to look at maybe some of the other companies which have also become big, like maybe Etsy, which is a marketplace, right? Or maybe Supreme as a brand. And now if I look at all of these companies, the underlying factor is in the initial days, hardly anybody was trying to push sales down anybody's throats. Now, isn't it weird that when we are looking at all those brands that have made it really big on the internet, and Supreme is a wonderful example, okay, of a brand like this, they've always managed to create a premium around whatever they're doing. They've managed to create a community, okay, managed to create a premium, managed to create demand or at least harness the demand, create that pull, okay, get people connected emotionally and everything. And that results in a lot of wonderful sales, of course. But the focus has always been on creating an atmosphere where demand can be harnessed. So you have all the brand building principles that are actually being played out by all these brands who have become big in the digital world, which is essentially around creating this pull. Now, why don't, if we understand this and if we actually look at, what is happening with these big brands, why don't more companies or brands do this? And I rack my brains as to why doesn't this happen? And, the surprising truth that came to my mind was that this doesn't happen because somehow we have conflated digital with sales. There, I said it. We've conflated digital with performance marketing, in quotes I'm saying, or in conversions, or in the fact that it is a very efficient medium and you don't need to do any bullshit brand building stuff, and all you need to do is get, spread the thing out and people will buy and just try to convert, create deals and all of that. And there's a lot of truth in that. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of truth in that because, on digital, when you're online, you're talking to a customer who's adept at making his or her own decisions and is always on the lookout for a deal and is always on the lookout for buying something and no bullshit and the rest of it. But if everybody's doing it, then there's a little too much being pushed out to the consumer, isn't it? There's too much of remarketing being done. There's too much of sales being done. There's too much of, hey, we missed you, Siddharth, and why don't you come back and buy some more stuff coming back at you? And I don't think that that is the best way towards creating a truly iconic, big brand. Well, I talked of meme marketing, and meme marketing is actually extending a brand into the culture. Now, this is the exact opposite. When you're pushing something and trying to, you're expecting sales results out of it, you're contracting your brand. You're making it all about the sale, which is not something a customer is going to take too kindly. Do you take it kindly when an overeager salesman does this same thing to you? Well, I also know the reason, and of course you know the reason why we all do it still, right? It's because of those results that are demanded by bosses and clients and the rest of it, saying the quarterly results are extremely important for me, and I can't particularly take your highfalutin brand stuff, and I need results, and digital is the best way in which I can showcase those results. So push, 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 push. And the merry-go-round continues. How do you stop something like that? I think the way in which you stop something like that is by fundamentally recognizing that the best way to create sales is by building big iconic brands. And the best way to build iconic big brands is to make sure that you don't push all that much. I'm not saying stop pushing people. I'm not saying fire all the salespeople. I'm not saying any of that. But I'm saying currently the balance is being tipped over towards digital being a pushy, salesy channel rather than it being the potential big brand builder that it can be, and proven successfully by iconic brands like Supreme. If I dissect Supreme and if I look at what they're actually doing versus where they, they're doing clothes, right? And they're doing other stuff. But the brand that they've built is amazing. And it's all because of the power of that brand that, the resales of a Supreme product go for such a big price. Have a think about what I'm saying, people. Have a think about what I'm saying. And let's not try and conflate digital with salesiness. Let's perhaps also open our minds and hearts to the fact that digital can very well lead to iconic big brand building. Well, I hope you liked this podcast of mine, this diary entry of mine, Ujjwal, and everybody else. Thank you so much for listening to this one. And this wonderful cold Tuesday on London, and many more to come from where this came from. And if you like podcasts like these, just go to ivmpodcast.com, download the app. Want to follow me? I'm on LinkedIn and on Instagram as who else but the Traveling Professor. Thank you so much, and until the next time.
I hope you enjoyed that show. If you aren't following us on social media, please do. We're IVM Podcasts on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. I wanted to kind of just give a quick reminder to everybody. As I mentioned up top, we are doing our annual listener survey right now. If you could please go and take a couple of minutes out of your day and fill it out, we would really appreciate it. It's ivmpodcast.com/survey. If you're comfortable giving us your email address, we'll enter you into a random drawing, and we're going to be sending out swag to a bunch of randomly selected listeners. So do definitely get on board that train. Let me tell you a little bit about what we did on the network this week. We launched a new show called Zindagi Diaries with Ragini Kumar. Many of you might have seen Ragini on television during the IPL. She's a presenter, but she's showing a different side of herself over here with a poetry podcast. Give it a shot, give it a listen. Let me know what you all think. Vishal Gondal is back this week after a while. He's been on an extended break, but he has Rahul Narvekar for the first episode. Really interesting conversation. Do check it out. Raji Saman joins Gauri Devidayal on This Round Is On Me, the two talk about the wine business and what's going on there. We had a number of conversations about the Farmers Bill and the surrounding agitation this week on the network as well. Maruk Inayat had a great episode on the note. Pulyabazi did a deep dive into the issues around this. And on Siders, we have our typical, fun conversation about this stuff with a little bit of a seriousness, a little bit of fun. Do check that out on Cock and Bull on Thursday last week. Akash Mehta joined us for that episode. And with that, I hope to see you again next week.
Whether you're an established sports person or a budding one, or simply a sports enthusiast, join us, Tanvi and Shlok.
We are two passionate pro badminton players talking policy, mindset and everything sport.
So tune in to The Millennial Athlete every Monday.
Only on the IVM Podcast Network.
Trust us, it's gonna be lit.